This is the SFF Audio Podcast.
Hey, this is Jesse.
And I'm Scott.
Today we've got an interview with Bill Hollweg from BrokenSea Audio Productions. Well, Bill, I can't say you run BrokenSea. I don't think anybody runs BrokenSea, do they?
No, we have kind of a collective consciousness.
Yeah. So how did that happen exactly?
Well, I found audio drama, I guess, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago at Darker Projects by sheer accident, looking for Doctor Who, after having not watched the show since I was a kid, and got interested, and then ended up meeting through that, by email and stuff like that, mixing a few things for them, and getting killed by Mark Kalita and God knows how many different productions. Getting to know both of them, and then Paul, they've got a very cool website, but they're kind of, everything's got to have that dark edge to it, and we just wanted to do a few things that didn't really fit in the mold. So Paul and I and Mark and soon Dave Koyak just kind of went, we got to just start our own, just do anything. And that's the genesis of BrokenSea, I guess. So
and where did the title come from? I can't remember.
Paul and I have this idea that I've been procrastinating on drawing, but he's got this idea for a fantasy barbaric kind of tale. And I've gotten 2 or 3 pages of it drawn, but he wanted to do an audio drama, and God, he's going to kill me because I can't remember the title of it. But anyway, in this barbaric tale, there's this icy waste where a huge battle takes place, and they call it the Broken Sea. And then on this icy waste, think Conan and all the rest of Howard's kind of mythos thrown in with, evil, sorcery, and strange beings, and they hold this huge, world-shattering battle on this icy plain. And that's, Paul's like, wait, I call it Broken Sea. And it's like, oh, that's cool.
It is a pretty distinctive name. I think that actually sounds pretty good. Now, I'm just looking at the BrokenSea site, and there's maybe 24 or close to 24 different offerings, as you're calling them. And I've listened to maybe 6 or 7. But what's your involvement with all of these? Obviously, you're not running or you're not writing all of them.
Well, we each have our own likes and dislikes or whatever. So Paul and I when we first started this, I think Mark Bruzzi at Darker Projects introduced us and y'all to write something together.
Mm-hmm.
And so after about a week of going, hey, what do you want to write? What do you want to write? It sounded like we were, 2 cheerleaders in high school or something.
Uh-huh.
It's like, for sure, man. Anyway, I wrote, I just sent him this note. Now, mind you, I hadn't seen The Scorpion King yet when I did it. And it was like, I just have this idea in my head of a guy buried up to his neck, say circa the 1800s sometime, a gunslinger or something, with ants starting to crawl towards his face, and that's my idea. And Paul came up with, I don't know if you've listened to our Gusu tale, but it's just kind of an anthology that is tied together by the very end. But it's all these different things, and Paul wrote this little story about this guy, this cowboy guy, and a guy wanders up to him and ends up, being offered up to Gusu for water, and he takes his head. And so I sent a rebuttal scene that involved a dead rock star that had been brought back to life, and he tried to top that, and we ended up just topping each other with stuff that was not connected at all, and then managed to connect it with Ulysses at the very end, which was the genesis of that.
Right. I think I heard it way back when it came out. I guess that was last year or year before.
Yeah. And anyway, that's where all that started. But to get back to your question, my very first audio drama that I released, because I've got one other one I did just with my family, a Doctor Who thing. It's pretty funny. I got my kiddos in it. It's the first time they'd voice acted, and they've been in tons of stuff of mine now. Or my grandkiddos, I should say, Draven and Kyra, and my wife Gina. And we just had a ball with me playing the Doctor with a horrific British accent. And it was like, I sat down and I was going to try to learn Audacity. Well, after about a week of me piddling around, I just decided, no, I need a script. I don't know that many voice actors, and I was afraid to ask anybody, so I just sat down and wrote a 40-page script for no real reason, and I played all the I grabbed sound bites for Daleks, and I played a bunch of aliens, and I played the Doctor with my horrific British accent.
You're making it sound really terrible, by the way.
Well, it came out fun. I mean, other than my Doctor part, well, he says I need to get Mark Kalita to give a credible Doctor or something.
Well, here's the thing, though. I was sort of saving this question for you because I haven't really talked to any people who actually do audio drama about this question, but I think I've offered this idea to Scott before. Mm-hmm. The idea is that people do amateur audio drama. They do it like they do amateur sports. They do it because it's fun, not because necessarily they think they're going to have a lot of people in the audience cheering them on.
Oh, exactly.
What do you think? What do you think about that?
Mark and I have, Kalita and I have talked about this on the phone a couple of times. It's like, why are you? Because he's more or less the voice of audio drama these days.
Sure.
And I'm not. I mean, he's a fantastic actor and a good friend of mine. And he still is confused how he basically ended up with that mantle. But you know it's a good production when you hear Mark in it because he's so fantastic. I guess is how it happened. But anyway, and he's like I like. I'm not really sure why, but it's like a creative outlet,
Mm-hmm.
And even though now we're getting, lots of downloads and all that, like this morning I got up at 3 a.m. because I didn't see the time change. Mm-hmm. And I've been going through Stevie Farnaby, who plays Conan in my Conan tale, and just going to having a ball for 3 hours, picking out the right takes and all that, and throwing little sword shings and all the rest of that cool stuff. Because I find I have a 25, 30-minute commute to work, both to and from. And I listen to stuff. I mean, I make it so I can listen to it first and foremost because I want to hear Conan, and nobody else is making Conan audio dramas. So.
Well, I got to tell you, however rough you started off, I think, I'm a big Conan fan, and when I first heard the first chapter, I was thinking this guy's voice is not right. Something I was nitpicking here and there, but I'm on episode 6. I guess I just finished listening to episode 6. There's one more to go for the Queen of the Black Coast, and I'm thinking this is really awesome. There's actually no all the nicks I'm picks I'm knitting. I don't know. All the problems I have are problems that really are unavoidable. Things that are like the fact that you don't have a lot of people voicing the crew of the ship. Maybe there's 2 or 3 voices at most, and they sort of all sound the same.
A lot of them are actually me.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the mix is excellent. I think your editing skills have gone way up.
Well, thank you.
Or at least you're bringing your A game to the Conan.
I'm forever experimenting, and one day I'll actually feel like I know what I'm doing. But I've always, since I was a kid, my dad gave me a Conan book, and I bought the comic books, and I loved Arnold in the first movie. The second movie, not so much. And Dark Horse has a fantastic run of comics these days too. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I don't know, something about Howard's works just is spoken to me from a kid. I mean, when I draw, I usually draw because I love drawing comic art, and I'm a graphic artist by trade. But first thing I start drawing when I start doodling is, a Conan type character battling some large beastie or something,
Mm-hmm.
And we don't get paid a nickel. Any donations we get, we throw into, pay for the bandwidth. And that's cool too. I mean, we've talked about, wouldn't it be cool someday to actually do this for? And it's like, yeah, it would, but I'm not going to sit around and hold my breath and put my mortgage on hold to wait for the BBC to give me a call or something, or Big Finish or whoever,
You gotta remember that most people don't even know what audio drama is. They have no clue. So the chances of you becoming a major player when there's like two people doing it for a living in the world, yeah, doing it full time in the world. I think
slim to no.
I think you got to regulate it to a hobby, just like running a website or playing softball.
Oh, exactly. I played basketball in high school and found being 6'4" and wanting to be a center in the NBA doesn't really add up very well.
No.
And my vertical's not quite, 70 inches or whatever the going rate
Sure.
is these days.
Sure. And even if you did do that, you wouldn't have much of a, lengthy career. So what are you going to be doing after, right?
No, exactly. But God, I'd even pay to be like an official in the NFL, but that's another story.
Right. So, what other projects are on the go? I keep hearing trailers, I guess, for upcoming shows, and I hear the people voices in there, and I'm saying, hey, I think I know who that is, and so I heard a Battlestar Galactica, like a retro Battlestar Galactica trailer.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of both. They're almost like they might as well have called them two different shows.
I think you're right.
And they're both fantastic. I mean, is the original a little cheesy? Yeah, but it's fun. It's just good old Star Warsy fun. And there's not a lot of darkness to it. And the new one's about as black as it gets, and it's cool for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, as soon as I finish mixing Conan 7, the final episode of Queen of the Black Coast, hopefully by the end of this week, I'm going to start mixing our little 6-episode miniseries that I came up with and wrote and all that, and have all the lines, and I've been planning on mixing for a year now.
A 6-episode miniseries of Battlestar?
Mm-hmm, the original series.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because where did those voices come from? Was that just done for the trailer?
Yeah, well, I've had I don't know, 2/3, 3/4 of the lines in for a year.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I sat down one day taking a break from, I don't know, mixing probably Planet of the Apes or whatever it was I was mixing at the time, and decided to throw a trailer together just because I wanted to see what it'd sound like. Because much as I love Conan and all the rest of it, it seems like everything I mix, from Planet of the Apes to Grog to anything else, is all set in these worlds that have almost zero technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge sci-fi buff too, and plus I've been wanting to play with the buttons, the doors, the servos, the photons. I want to throw something into hyperspace.
Well, I quite liked the sound. The sound effects were right out of the old show, so I think if you keep up that level, it'll be a nice retro feel.
Oh, that's what I'm going for. I mean, make it like the original series and have some fun. Oh, it's like anything else, man. Well, we did all those audiobooks that are up on our site now.
Uh-huh.
And we got some guy who's been in the radio business for 30 years. I don't know what else he does, but he emailed and said, I've heard lots of good things about BrokenSea, enjoyed a few of your productions, but you really should have paid closer attention because this isn't brain surgery. But I don't know. He'd tried to listen to 3 or 4 of the audiobooks, and the retakes were still in there, and Paul decided he wanted to have 100 audiobooks up or something like that, and he was going to take care of the whole thing himself, and it's just an overwhelming task. So Taylor Kent, the Snark Waters podcast, did some and helped us find some people, but some stuff slips through the cracks. It was a sobering email.
So we heard about a couple of your shows that you did, like the Planet of the Apes. What else have you been directly involved in of the BrokenSea stuff?
Ulysses, I mixed and wrote the first, 7 or 8 episodes. I helped write Gusu. I wrote and mixed and acted in Planet of the Apes, and the Grog and Griffin is my original fantasy one that wrote, mixed in the whole 9 yards, played a few characters or more.
That's the one set in a tavern, right?
Yes. And, of course, Conan now and next Battlestar Galactica. And for some reason the other day got the wild hair, and I haven't even told our BrokenSea group about this, but I sat down and wrote just a random thought. I asked a buddy of mine if he had the theme to Kolchak the Night Stalker, Kolchak. And he said, well, yeah, and he sent it to me. And I emailed another buddy of mine, Brian of Seraphic Panoply, who's a wonderful musician.
That's the music of Conan, right?
He's the one that helped compose the theme to it. And he reworked it into, like, rework the theme basically, so we could have an original redone version. And I sat down and wrote a 15-page script or something that we're at least going to make a mini-series out of it, probably not released till next year. But I don't know. I sat down last night and watched like 3 hours on a beat-up videotape I have of Carl Kolchak.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got some other ideas for original stuff and all that. Paul right now is finishing up an original Tale of Mad Max for November.
I thought that trailer sounded really interesting.
Oh,
I like that it's an original rather than a remake, because
Mhm.
I've seen the original Mad Max movies, dozens of times. So I'm glad to have another adventure. Although he's Kiwi though, right? So I guess Max has got a boat and gone over to get a new accent.
Yeah, well, I don't think Paul's playing. I think he got somebody else to play him. But yeah, Paul thinks, and I forget what he's going to kill me again. I forget what they call him, but down there, Mad Max is like tantamount to, I don't know, Star Wars or something in the States.
Sure.
And they would all, wanted to get the Charger car, and they had clubs. They had some name for the groups as high school kids.
Oh yeah.
Which I just thought was an interesting side note to that whole movie series.
Well, there's a huge subculture of people who buy the cars and do them up and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool. So are you going to be involved in voicing any of that, or is it all going to be local recorded?
Paul cast it out all over the place. I think there were some friends of his down there that did it, and we've got, 150 people in our group.
I got to say, you've got a voice who could do a really good Mad Max villain.
Well, so that would be fun. I enjoy getting killed.
Well, yeah, but you'd have to be like one of the the bad bossy guys rather than.
Oh yeah, we're right on the really funky cars and shoot crossbows tied to shotguns, which I just think would be cool. But
there you go. That sounds good.
It's the simple things in life.
Mm-hmm. So it's in a way, it's like. It's kind of like role playing, right? It's like a role playing game.
More or less, yeah. It's like Dungeons and Dragons on a broader scale, but you can go back and listen to it with sound effects and music.
It's scripted. And I mean, I've noticed there is a new trend to record role playing games as they're playing, and I'm thinking, who's going to enjoy these, right? Like, if I want to listen to somebody play, I want to be in the game.
Well, exactly,
right? But I think there is a point after which like that the recording becomes so skilled, or the writing is so iconic. Thinking like Queen of the Black Coast you don't have to do any of the work coming up with a great story. What you have to do is adapt a great story, because you've got a great story to start with.
Yeah, and if you like the story, which I do, and I know you're a fan too.
Oh, big fan.
You don't want to let everybody down. And well, I think I told you in an email, Stevie, who plays Conan, the other day emailed me and said it's been this huge honor, which is odd because I'm sitting here in my bathrobe, mixing Conan at 3 a.m, and I've got Stevie over in the UK, all just pleased as punch to be a part of it. And he said he'd literally, I think on episode 7, he ripped his throat up to the point it was bleeding.
Nice.
Which, and everyone's just been all excited about doing it and having fun with it and, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I gotta say, I was like listening to episode 6 yesterday, and I'm thinking, I really don't want this to end. So I'm thinking, what would be a nice project I can sell Bill on? And I was thinking, what about The Frost Giant's Daughter? That's a nice short story. Could probably be easily adapted. Doesn't require more than 4 or 5 actors. Could only run 2 shows or 3 shows, and then maybe you'd get the bug and have to do another one.
No, I've got the bug. That's one of the ones I've been considering. And the Jewels of I don't know if I say Guahula or Guahala or however you pronounce it. I need to.
Well, you're going to have to find that out, aren't you?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I usually consult Mark Calais because he corrects me on all my old world English faux pas that I make in proper pronunciation. A lot easier to read than try to say. And Paul Mannering, who of course lives in New Zealand, accuses me of using the English language as if it were a second language, but that's my Texas drawl.
Sure. That's cool.
Hey, have you had a chance to listen to any of our Jake Sampson stuff?
Oh, sure. Actually, I really enjoyed the first series. It was called the Hyborian Gate, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That,
Its pacing is not what I would like it to be. Pacing is a little too drawn out. And I think that's because it's a serial, and it sort of feels like the old-fashioned movie serials. Let's get that cliffhanger right at the end, and then in the middle there's a little.
Yeah, there's a certain recipe or whatever. Yeah.
And I mean, for the number of there's a lot of characters, which I think also makes it. Everybody's got to get their lines in. But it's I like the idea. I like it quite a lot. I listened to the first series. I think is the second series finished. I think it is.
Yeah, there's actually a third one out now too.
Okay.
The second one was the Temple of Ra, which was a mummy themed
right.
one.
And there's the Amazon one. Is that
the River of Woe? Yeah, and that one
right.
just finished. And the fourth one, Dave's mixing right now. Dave Sokoyak, our web god, my buddy. But it's called Death Stalkers, and it's about vampires, and there's some dark places in Jake's past and whatnot.
It's like an Indiana Jones style series with
Exactly.
more characters. But I've been watching this TV show called Tales of the Gold Monkey, and
I watched that years ago. Love that show.
Yeah, it's very fun. I wish that show had lasted a little longer because I think I'm on the last episode now, and it's kind of like that, except that show sort of stays in one place but it's got a whole bunch of characters and they fly around and solve problems. Not that many monsters.
Well, yeah, you got to have monsters sometimes. But yeah, no,
like
I
monkeys
enjoyed it.
and apes.
Well, wasn't that the one with Roddy McDowell in it? Because there were two of them.
Yeah.
Played
Frenchman.
The actual genesis of Jake Sampson was that I'd found I don't remember where it was, but have you ever listened to Temple of the Vampire?
No, I'm
40s or 50s. It's two guys flying in a plane of three, and there's a girl, and they find a little kid stowed away, and they have to land because they're running out of fuel over South America. End up finding this Inca temple, and it's all that kind of 50s adventure cheese just on display.
Sounds good.
I'll send you the episodes. I don't know where I got them from, but it was like 20 episodes long, and just a fantastic, fun romp. And I kept emailing them to everybody. Finally, Paul listened to them. I was like, "This is cool. We got to do something." And Mark Kalita came up. We got to do something like Bill's from Texas, and all, just one thing led to another. Next thing, Mark and Paul had written the first one and wrote Robert E. Howard into the story.
Yeah, I thought that was a very nice something to hang on to while we get introduced to the series.
I just thought it was really neat when I saw it and we did it and all that kind of stuff. And then it seemed like very soon after that I saw your thing about reading an audiobook and winning a CD, and it was like, oh, there's Conan stories. Which I didn't know about Gutenberg, and I wouldn't even attempted a Conan story until I saw your thing. So I have you to thank for all the fun I've had and all the trouble I've got.
Well, I sorry to put you into these long hours, but I think I benefited quite a lot from your finding it.
Oh, I had a ball. I mean, that was just cool, and I've been trying to keep up with all the ones that get sent in and whatnot. And then Mark Slater, of course.
Ton of projects. And I'm like just looking at the list of things, and I haven't heard of maybe 5 or 6 of them, but I'm like I kind of like the adaptations, and I like the original stuff. But I can't say like I like the Johnny Quest. I never saw the show, so listening to the audio drama doesn't do anything for me. Planet of the Apes I've seen, and I like what you guys did there. I think it's rather drawn out, which I think is I don't know how that happens, but it must be it's because you're expanding upon it, I guess, with scenes.
Well, that and I approached it as if I were Peter Jackson.
The giant
You know,
40-hour-long version.
yeah. If I'm going to dabble, I'm going to dabble forever. But yeah, some of our adaptions we've talked. Like Stevie Farnaby right now is just finished mixing episode 1, working on episode 2 of Escape from New York.
Right. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
And episode 1 is really cool. But one of the reasons some of these we wanted to do like an adaptation of the movie and then go on with further tales, you know, because I think one reason for fanfic, at least in my opinion, is that whoever was making the canon series quit making it, and it's got fans out here. And if you really pay attention to detail, you can at least, I don't know, bring some of the feel back and, you know, see what would have happened with these, you know, I don't know, whether it's Galactica or some of the other ones, and, you know, go on with it. Because, I mean, myself, I wish they'd kept on with the original BSG, but, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you know about all the projects that are going on right now? Like Beta Flight. I just visited the website and said, "What? Beta Flight? Isn't that the from that's the
Marvel
name of this
Comics?
Yeah, from Alpha Flight."
Yeah, actually it's not. Well, if you haven't listened, have you listened to Feedback? Do you know about
I listened to Feedback when it first came out.
Okay. Well, then you know it's about the guy who got it. It's early for me, but who wants to be a superhero, and he's actually in it.
Yeah.
And there's a fan forum or whatever of the actors and whoever likes feedback, and they're very vocal and have a big old cool time. And I don't know exactly how it all came about, but they decided to make a secondary group based around the Feedback universe.
Holy cow.
So that's what that is, and I like Beta Flight. It's a cool show, just like Feedback is. But there's a whole ton of characters, and I love mass characters. Of course, you got to keep a stat sheet, much like Grog and Griffin, to keep up with them all. But I think it's a lot of fun. Makes you pay attention, you know.
Especially if you're editing it, right?
Well,
you gotta
adds hours to your life, or takes them away, perhaps. I don't know which.
Okay. What about Body Slam Alley? I think this has got to be the weirdest idea for audio drama.
That was come up, that whole idea, and I love that show. I finally got to. Well, I'm in it in 2 different roles. But I play Darkman in there, the wrestler, who does nothing but grunt. And I get these little cues in there. Grunt like you're happy. Grunt like you're mad, you know. Do a long grunt here. And basically I send them off. But anyway, Damaris Mannering, Paul's wife, and her friend Amanda Fitzwater, who's voiced a lot of stuff for us too, a ton of stuff. Amanda, I think Damaris is too. They're big wrestling fans.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with the whole concept, and it was mixed by MJ Cogburn. It's written by Damaris and Amanda. I mean, it's all run by, you know, our I don't know, by the girls, you know. So the guys get to come in, but they have to be, you know, directed in whatever they want us to do, and it's just hilarious. And Mark Kalita, I forget the name of his character, but he like dresses in a chicken outfit and ends up, you know, going to the squared circle.
It's such a strange, because I mean, wrestling's so visual, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's just I didn't see that. I almost never see what's coming out of, like, it comes out of left field. It comes out of, you know, an nth dimension. You can't even tell when there's a new BrokenSea product. It could be almost anything.
Well, you know, we have a variety of taste. I mean, the interesting thing about the BSA thing, you know, Body Slam Alley, is a lot of it just backseat, you know, hilarity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, interviews and, you know, how they're trying to, you know, get the new show going, and there's an irritated journalist who gets pissed off at the owner, and they're both female, and they got to deal with all the egos, and it's just a romp.
Sounds it. Now, what about Broken Scenes? That's just it's more of an anthology of you tell me.
Comedic shorts and things.
Mm-hmm.
And little, and I can't for the life of me remember how it came about, but that's kind of a anthology kind of thing, just short stuff that we like to do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know if you've listened to Sounding Board. That's
Yep.
well, for those that haven't, we just oddly enough decided that what would happen if one of us won the Nigerian lottery. And so Paul and Mark Kaleda have been writing most of the scripts. And it's just, you know, these, and also, what if when we won the Nigerian lottery, we bought a Broken Sea building and did this for real, yet the characters we were using were also real.
Yeah,
and all these.
It's a flight of fancy in every respect, right?
Yeah, it's just over the top. I mean, it's kind of like our Ice Pick Award we gave away this past year, which people were a little confused about because somebody had listened to one of our shows and said listening to this audio drama was like having an ice pick jammed into your ear repeatedly.
Yep. I saw that.
Yeah, I think Paul framed that email.
You've got several Doctor Who series. Is that correct?
Well, it's one ongoing series, but each arc has its own
Doctor.
Well, no, it's all the same Doctor, Mark Kaleda, but it's like a new story arc starts. They're in order, but you got to follow them because there's Stephen Cohen, who writes it, is a brilliant writer, and they all kind of take place within the same timeline or whatever.
Okay.
If that makes any kind of sense.
Well, as long as Doctor Who makes sense in a way.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Electric Grasshopper.
And that was Stevie Farnaby, who voices Conan, and he's a musician and actually went to college to become for lack of a better term, a post-producer for music, and that's his own music. He plays the drums fantastically and knows all sorts of really cool musicians over there in the UK. Mm-hmm. And he just decided that he was going to make up a sci-fi story but tell it all through music.
Yeah, I think I've had some contact by email from him, and I'm the one person in the world who doesn't understand or like music, so it doesn't quite work for me. But,
it's okay.
Yeah, that's my problem. Feedback. This is what's really strange for me is I realized after that there was some connection to the outside. I thought it was just a new show, mm-hmm. Right? I just thought it was a new Broken Sea show, but it actually is related to a television series you were saying.
Yeah, the Who Wants to Be a Superhero television series on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Uh-huh.
And they have a group of people go on there and all, tell Stanley what their superpower is and basically do a Survivor kind of deal to see who's the ultimate superhero, and they win money and get a comic book series. Or I think they're Dark Horse, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. It makes me think of that movie with Mr. Furious, played by Ben Stiller.
Oh yeah.
It's his superpower. He gets really mad. The Invisible Boy, who can only be invisible when he's naked and nobody's looking. Yeah. Well, why not?
Yeah, well,
we already talked about Gusu. What about Green Pond?
That was written because my grandkiddos who we're raising have been in like the Grog and Griff, and they've been in an episode or two of Planet of the Apes and a variety of other things. And then Paul's got a niece and nephew, Ian and Neve. And my grandkiddos are Draven and Kyra, and they were all into audio dramas. And so he wrote this kind of, it's almost like the Smurfs.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, and we got Gareth Preston of Westlake Films, who's a fantastic actor and good friend over in England, to voice the good-natured wizard, and I was asked to play the talking, goofy Mr. Ed Horse. And it's just a little kid romp.
Yeah, I had to listen to it, and I was thinking, yep, this is another Broken Sea. I don't understand. You've got 2 years of Halloween shows, and the Halloween shows are a lot of readings, like audiobook style, and
mm-hmm.
some audio drama. What are some of the highlights you could talk about? There's so many of them. It's like 60 different things or something.
Oh, and tell me about it. Well, I love 19 Nocturne Boulevard stuff. They
Right.
just contacted us out of the blue, and that's just it's Halloween shows I can let the kids listen to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because much like TV, I view it first, and it was just like, I don't know. It's got a little scare to it, but it's not going to go over the edge and turn into a bloody mess or whatever. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of fun. It's very well written, very well mixed, and it's just a lot of fun. God, now you put me on it.
You don't have an internet in front of you, so you're going all through your brain. So
yeah, exactly, and that's a scary cobwebbed place, let me tell you. But well, Paul wrote an original story last year that we put out called The Hunt that I just thought was fantastic. With Mark Clayton, it's kind of a dark werewolf story that's written, in Victorian times or so. I mean, it's very well written and cool dark tale. And the other one I really dug, which we replayed recently, was Robot Master versus the Monkey Master versus the robot with the human brain, which is just which Paul wrote, and I loved the title. And the other day I was like, dude, we had to do another one. Write another one, something with octopoids. Just because I'd watched, yet another Godzilla film with a real octopus stuck in there for no real reason attacking a ship. But
right.
And so anyway, it's a B grade, sci-fi tale like you would see in any of those black and white movies, like The Crabs That Ate New York, or Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and all these films that I love. And Paul just encompassed it all. And I mean, if you like schlocky B grade 50s era sci-fi, this tale's for you.
Got it. Now, the Hooligan audiobooks, this is the category you put in the SFF Audio Challenge titles.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else in there besides?
There's the Eustace Diamonds. Which I don't know if that was one of y'all's. It apparently has.
No, it's not.
Alexa Chipman from Imagination Lane, who's a fantastic writer and mixer and actress and all that kind of stuff. I started doing that one if my memory serves. Or like I said, as you know, I don't have the internet in front of me.
Right.
And it's I don't know, we're on chapter 572 right now, but it's a fantastic read, and it's cool that somebody's that driven to bring something to light.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also got another one that I recommend highly called Saxon, which is she's got a degree in history, I think, and has translated an ancient Saxon battle, more or less, or something. I mean, I don't know enough about the actual thing, but I was asked to play a part in it, and I finally got to listen to it the other day, and it was just, this is cool,
Yeah, it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've talked about Jake Sampson, mentioned Johnny Quest, Logan's Run.
That was, well, Paul wrote it, but it was like me and Paul are both fans of the movie, huge fans. I mean,
sure.
And it's like most of our productions, boils down to I've got a 20-minute commute to and from work, or 25, and most of us do. And who wants to listen to something like that? And so Paul wrote this fantastic script, expanded a little bit, and Mark plays the old man Peter Ustinov to a T in it. I mean, he just became Peter Ustinov. I don't know how he did it, but I love them, and I just think it's a fantastic story, and it's been very well done. The first episode is just this mind trip, when you first come into the City of the Domes world, and it was just cool.
It's not finished yet, is it?
Yeah, I ended up mixing, I think, the last episode or two, if I remember right.
Okay.
There's six total.
All right. It's been a while since I think I heard the first 2 or 3. Anyways, Maudelayne.
That was written by Alexa Chipman, and it takes place in the 30s. It's in Oxford at his college.
Mm-hmm.
And
kind of reminded me of Jake Sampson in a way. The first Jake Sampson.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of that. There's out of nowhere, and she hasn't explained why it happens, but J.R.R. Tolkien is one of those professors.
Mm-hmm.
And periodically this group, Worsley and the rest of the gang, even a Texan, not me, but a fantastic actor, are going to classes when banshees and dragons and everything else come out of nowhere. And it's kind of a farcical look at what would happen with a group of people studying in Oxford back in the 30s when a doorway to alternate realms, dimensions, gods, and everything else comes out. I mean, they had Valkyries coming out one episode, and that was just, in my opinion, cool, but I'm a huge fan of the Norse gods as far as Marvel Comics and all the rest. And Dirk Gently.
Of course, of course.
This has been the SFF Audio Podcast. Please join us at www.sffaudio.com.